Namaste everyone. Welcome back to my channel. Today is day 15 of the 90-day hard challenge for anthropology. Let's get started. The topic for today is 2.1, the nature of culture. Now before starting, I got some feedback regarding how I should conduct the videos. Usually my plan was to give out the scoping of any particular topic, that is define the boundary कि हमें कितना पढ़ना है. But since I was only speaking with a static image, I got some feedback that if I simultaneously refer to the material which I recommended in my previous videos, it would be much better. Hence, starting today onwards, at least for the part of socio-cultural anthropology, we will be using this material, the vision material, which I had referred to in my earlier videos, and हम इसके साथ ही पढ़ेंगे कि हमें क्या क्या और कैसे पढ़ना है. All right, let's get started. So if we look at the syllabus of 2.1, we have two major headings, the concept and characteristics of culture and civilization, and the second is ethnocentrism vis-a-vis cultural relativism. Now, as you can see, this culture versus civilization debate, this is an important topic, and another is the cultural relativism and ethnocentrism. You can also see this from the PYQs. We can see that the questions on cultural relativism have been asked over and over again. Further, even the questions on culture versus civilization have been asked again and again. Apart from this, in the recent years, we see that 2.1 is linked with the other parts of the sociocultural anthropology and mixed kind of analytical questions are being asked. Hence, it is very important to have good conceptual clarity in order to ensure good marks. Our plan for sociocultural anthropology would again be the same as earlier. Having good conceptual clarity of the topics mentioned here, as well as trying to answer all the PYQs in order to be best prepared for the upcoming questions. All right, let's move on to the topic at hand. So, the first thing that we start with is the definition of culture. Now, the thing to note is memorizing just one definition is not enough, at least for sociocultural anthropology. This is because it is an important topic and is asked at least in one subpart per question in the recent years. Thus, the chances of multiple questions from one topic coming is very high. And if we use the same definition over and over again, it would not look very good. My recommendation for the definitions of culture are as follows. It would be best if you can remember three definitions, one by E.B. Tyler and the other two by Herskowitz and Krober and Klakon, which will come a bit later. Let me show you. So these are the three definitions which I recommend that you learn. This is because once you learn these three, even the other question about is culture unique to human beings, you can utilize the same three definitions and your work will reduce. Coming back, apart from definition, the first thing that we move on is the nature or the characteristics of culture. Now there are various characteristics which are given, and it would be advisable if you can learn the names of at least a few anthropologists along with some characteristics. This would help you give those extra half marks, which overall produces a huge impact on your score. Further, as you can see on the right, there are a few small concepts which you need not remember per se, but the conceptual clarity of this is very much needed. So these are the concepts of ideal, real culture, and culture construct. These are given by Ralph Linton, which is very important. Now, my recommendation for socio-cultural anthropology is आपको जब भी कोई एंथ्रोपोलॉजिस्ट का नाम दिखे आप उसको थ्योरी से लिंक करने की कोशिश करें. जैसे रैल्फ लिंटन बिलोंग टू कल्चरल पर्सनालिटी स्कूल. इससे आपको टू फोल्ड बेनिफिट होगा. एक तो आप सोशो कल्चरल एंथ्रोपोलॉजी के जिस भी पार्ट को पढ़ रहे हैं उसमें आप थ्योरीज को लिंक कर पाएंगे, एंड दूसरा आपकी थ्योरीज भी साथ साथ रिवाइज होती जाएंगी. सो दिस बॉक्स इज ओनली फॉर conceptual clarity, but do read this. Then there are a few case studies which are given here, and आप इसकी cursory reading कर सकते हैं. There are some which are very important. For example, this one by Malinowski, The Argonauts of Western Pacific. This is a classic case study which you can use across multiple domains. Hence, isko padna would be a good idea. Moving on, there are a few more smaller concepts like enculturation, the carriers of culture, the receiver of culture, youth dormitories, subculture, etc. Another thing is the difference between enculturation versus acculturation. Now, this can be asked as a 10 marker. So just prepare 3 or 4 points along with one diagram, which would be enough. Apart from this, there is a concept of culture traits and culture complex. This was given by Hobel, but try to link it with the configuration of culture approach given by Ruth Benedict, as we studied in the theories. Further, here are some more differences between acculturation versus contra-acculturation, that is just the opposite of acculturation, along with some case studies mentioned here which you can use. If you see here, this case study is of tribal revolts, which also comes in paper 2. So try to remember such case studies which you can use in both the papers, and this will reduce your workload. Further, there are some pictures given here. This would be very good for your visual memory. Just keep seeing all these pictures and try to impress them upon your mind. इन सबको हमें याद नहीं करना है, बट अगर इनमें से किसी कोई एक दो ट्राइब्स का नाम हमें पेपर के टाइम याद आ जाता है एंड हम उसको लिख पाते हैं, नाउ दिस वुड बी द डिफरेंशिएटिंग पॉइंट जो आपको एक्स्ट्रा आधा या एक नंबर लेके आने में हेल्प करते हैं. एंड दीज मेक ऑल द डिफरेंस, ट्रस्ट मी. Now we are done with the definition as well as the nature or characteristics of culture. Along with this, we also studied some basic concepts like real or ideal culture, acculturation, contra-acculturation, enculturation, etc. Moving on, another question which has not been asked in the last 10 years is that of superorganic view of culture. Now, the main proponent of this was A.L. Kroeber, about whom more information is given here. Again, as I said, जहाँ पे भी आप एंथ्रोपोलॉजिस्ट का नाम देखें, अगर वो पढ़ा हुआ है तो आप उसको थ्योरी से लिंक जरूर करें. इससे आप ही के कॉन्सेप्ट्स स्ट्रेंथन होंगे. So do tell in the comments which school did Alfred Kroeber belong to. Apart from this, one more thing जिसमें मैं आपका ध्यान आकर्षित करना चाहता था is this. See the structure and how this content is given. So there is a brief introduction here, then there is the concept given as well as the criticism, and then finally there is a conclusion. This is how even the toppers ask you to make your own notes. But यहाँ पे already दिया गया है. But even in your mind, try to create such a structure for every question or every topic that you get. This will help you a lot during the later stages of this exam, trust me. So do this well. Further, if you want to study more about what exactly superorganic, do read this box. Moving on. The next concept is that of culture pattern. Now, here remember the concept of configuration of culture given by Ruth Benedict. Again, tell which school did she belong to in the comments below. So here, as you can see, the bigger circle is called as the configuration of culture. This configuration of culture has a lot of different culture patterns shown by the green circles. Then culture pattern consists of several cultural complexes which are shown by these yellow circles. And then each of these cultural complexes may have a lot of different cultural traits which are shown by these black circles. Now, if you want to understand what exactly do each of these terms mean, you can read this example here, which is good. You need not remember this exactly, but just remembering one example will help you link what the actual concept is. Further, do remember that in questions of socio-cultural anthropology, the more names of anthropologists you write, the more likelihood of you getting more marks. Now, this is under the condition कि उन anthropologists ने उस topic पे कुछ काम किया हो. अगर आप random नाम लिखेंगे, you cannot fool the examiner. GS may maybe you can, but in anthropology definitely not, because this is a more of a specialist paper, being the optional paper. And a good structure on how to write the answer is again given here. A brief introduction, maybe an example you can write just after the introduction. Then there is the history of the concept. Then the main concept, which was given by the main anthropologist, that is Ruth Benedict, and a final conclusion. And if you can include one such diagram there, then your answer is complete and you can at least expect 60% of marks there if nothing goes wrong. So try to follow this structure in all your answers. Moving on, we have the question, is culture unique to human beings? Now this is a very important question because if you think about it, यही तो सबसे एक important question रहता है हर anthropologist के मन में कि हमने देखा कि humans societies में culture है and culture evolve हुआ है. दैट इज अगर हम प्रिमिटिव मैन को देखें तो उनका कल्चर बहुत बेसिक था, बट अगर प्रेजेंट सोसाइटी का कल्चर देखें दैट इज अ वेरी कॉम्प्लेक्स कल्चर। सो वहां से लेकर यहाँ तक अब जो हम इवॉल्व हुए हैं, विच मीन्स even our ancestors, according to Darwin's theory, which are say chimpanzees or apes, they should also have some form of culture, and this is exactly the question जो हम यहाँ पे address करते हैं। तो इसके लिए सबसे पहले आपको कुछ definitions लिखनी पड़ेंगी, एंड अगर आप यहाँ पे देखेंगे सो ईबी टाइलर की definition में we have all the capabilities acquired by man, right? Even in Krober and Klakon's definition, this is the totality of learned human behavior, right? And even by Herskovit's definition, this is the man-made part of environment. So मोटा मोटा अगर आप देखें तो तीनों definitions point out that culture is something unique to human culture, but then there are certain counter examples also, so you should read these studies। अगर आपके पास टाइम है तो आप इनके बारे में थोड़ा डेप्थ में भी पढ़ सकते हैं, especially the study by Jane Goodall। There's also a good documentary by her either on YouTube or on Nat Geo, I'm not able to remember that, but do watch it if you have the time। And then finally, you must include this point from Leslie White that although lower primitives, that is apes, etc., can also symbolize, but that does not mean that they are cultured. So do read about his comments here. And then finally, at present, we can conclude that culture is unique to human beings, right? So do prepare this question for a good 20 marker. Next up, we have the comparison between culture and civilization. And this is important because this is also a syllabus point. नाउ हेयर यहाँ पे मैं आपको एक और चीज बताना चाहता हूँ। अगर आप PYQs को देखते हैं, यू वुड बी सीइंग अ लॉट ऑफ 10 मार्कर्स जहाँ पे क्वेश्चन इज समथिंग लाइक कल्चर एंड सिविलाइजेशन, एंड यू जस्ट हैव टू राइट इट ऑन 10 मार्कर्स। यूजुअली बच्चे यहाँ पे गलती ये करते हैं कि दे राइट वन पेज अबाउट कल्चर एंड द अदर पेज अबाउट सिविलाइजेशन, एंड वो समझते हैं कि हमने दोनों पार्ट्स को एड्रेस कर दिया, पर ये गलत अप्रोच है। बिकॉज द क्वेश्चन वॉज कल्चर एंड सिविलाइजेशन, विच मीन्स आप या तो इनके बारे में कुछ डिफरेंसेस बताएं या फिर इनके बारे में कुछ रिलेशनशिप या सिमिलैरिटीज बताएं। वो चाह रहे हैं कि आप इन दो डिस्टिंक्ट कॉन्सेप्ट्स को अपने एनालिसिस, अपने एनालिटिकल माइंड से इनमें कुछ रिलेशनशिप स्थापित करने की कोशिश करें, एंड दिस इज व्हाट इज आस्क्ड। अगर आप इसमें थोड़ा सा सब स्टैंडर्ड आंसर भी लिखते हैं, बट if you follow this format, then there are higher chances that you would get better marks than those जिन्होंने एक एक पेज दोनों के बारे में मे बी एक्सीलेंट कंटेंट लिखा है, because that was not what was asked। and इसी चीज को टॉपर्स हर साल एम्फेसाइज करते हैं कि do read the questions carefully, understand and address the demand of the question। this is exactly the demand of the question। now coming back to this question, do remember one of the definitions of culture as well as civilization। जरूरी नहीं है कि आप यही प्रिपेयर करें, जो तीन आपने ऊपर प्रिपेयर करी थी, मे बी फ्रॉम ईबी टाइलर यू कैन राइट दैट डेफिनेशन फॉर कल्चर, and for civilization say you can use LH Morgan's definition or any other of these four given here। then we have some 5 points given for the relationship between these two concepts, and then we also have some differences here, right? so जब भी कोई 10 मार्कर ऐसा आता है जिसमें वन टर्म एंड सेकेंड टर्म इज गिवन, try to maintain such a structure in your answer and you will see your marks rise। Further, जैसा कि आप यहाँ देख सकते हैं, they have mentioned a point about evolutionist, that is theories को उन्होंने यहाँ पर लिंक किया है। Now this is a very very good practice because this shows how you are interlinking the concepts। अगर आप इस चीज को कर पाते हैं, then rest assured 280 plus is definitely a guarantee। Finally, you need to have some good conclusion, and यहाँ पे भी आप you can use the lines given by some anthropologist। Now if you see this line by MacIver, civilization is what we have and culture is what we are। now जैसा कि आप समझ ही गए होंगे, कहीं पे भी क्वेश्चन अगर सिविलाइजेशन या कल्चर पर आए, you can use this line। so do remember such good lines for each topic specifically and then try to use them in your answers। एंड अगर आप कहीं पे ऐसा छोटा सा एक माइक्रो डायग्राम बना पाए, से ऑन द राइट हैंड साइड ऑफ योर एंटायर पेज, नाउ दिस वुड फेच यू अगेन गुड मार्क्स। ऑल राइट, मूविंग ऑन, another major topic from 2.1 is the cultural relativism as well as ethnocentrism। here again you need not remember all these definitions, you can just remember one of the definitions, say by Franz Boas, and even for ethnocentrism, say by William Graham Sumner in his book Folkways। नाउ यहाँ पर कॉन्सेप्चुअल क्लैरिटी की बहुत ज़रूरत है कि how did exactly cultural relativism came into being and why is it so dear to anthropologists. क्यों है कि हम बोलते हैं anthropology is superior to all the other social sciences out there. The most important reason for that is cultural relativism. And यहाँ पे आप उनका differences देख सकते हैं. Now a smart aspirant would have already understood ये जो differences हैं इनको आप fodder point या base point बना के कई और questions में भी use कर सकते हैं. For instance, अगर question आता है differentiate between social sciences versus anthropology or why anthropology is more than social sciences, कुछ points आप यहाँ से use कर सकते हैं but not directly. Do remember this, not directly. फॉर इंस्टेंस कल्चरल रिलेटिविज्म में हम दूसरे के कल्चर को अपने पर्सपेक्टिव की जगह उनके पर्सपेक्टिव से देखते हैं जिससे हमें ज्यादा एक्यूरेट थ्योरी बनाने का मौका मिलता है एंड सिमिलरली अदर एडवांटेजेस. So try to do such smart work and this will reduce your burden extensively. Further, you must also write some criticism and the one given by Elizabeth Zeckenter is the most important. फर्दर अगर यहाँ पे आप अपनी थ्योरीज को याद करें सो डू रिमेंबर द नेम ऑफ मार्विन हैरिस. डू टेल मी इन द कमेंट्स कि इन्होंने कौन सी थ्योरी दी थी. अगर आप इनकी बात करें तो इन्होंने प्रमोट किया था कि हमें एटिक व्यू को यूज करना चाहिए बिकॉज एमिक व्यू टेंड्स टू बिकम नॉन साइंटिफिक, राइट. सो दिस कैन ऑल्सो बी यूज्ड एज वन ऑफ द क्रिटिसिज्म हियर. This is how you should try to link your theories with the socio-cultural part. This will both reduce your burden and also increase your marks because of interlinking. Further, we have some case studies here. Now, in this material, a lot of case studies have been added, and I do not recommend you to read all of these. आप कोई भी case studies जो आपको पढ़ने से एकदम से दिमाग में बैठ रही है, do try to remember that, and that you can use in multiple places. All right, moving on. We also have the comparison between cultural relativism and ethnocentrism, and also some similarities, which can be seen here. And also we have one example from the Khasa tribe in Uttarakhand. Now this is an Indian example which means you can also use this in paper too. Try to find such examples and try to remember these. Moving on. Alright, so we reach the end of this topic. So जैसा कि आज हमने डिस्कस किया, try to complete this topic today itself and notes की आपको इतनी टेंशन लेने की जरूरत नहीं है because trust me these are as good a notes as any topper would have made. So try to improve your conceptual clarity and यहाँ पर जो भी आपके points हो you can either type them using a PDF editor or you can even print out this and write manually here, but you can use this as your base notes. Alright, that's it for this video. Do tell in the comments if you like the present approach of using the material and then discussing how to go about it, or if I should revert back to the previous one. Also, if you have any other comments or suggestions, do write them down below. I will try to include as many of them as humanly possible. Right. That's all for this video. See you all soon. Jai Hind.